It's that time of year again, a time where we look at all the best games of the year, the best games we've played, and we look at what we want to play next year. But it's also a great time to look at all the games that we just gave up on for one reason or another. Maybe they were too hard, maybe they just kind of stunk, maybe there was some glaring technical issues. In this video, I'm going to go over 5 games that I just could not bear to finish. And let me know in the comments below, what were some games that you gave up on, whether you really wanted to like them and just couldn't, or they just never met your expectations. Let's get into it. Penny's Big Breakaway was a game that I was extremely excited about. I love the graphical style, and the gameplay footage looked like it was going to be a really fun experience with cool movement options. I have no idea why, but there is something about a video game character with a yo-yo that really appeals to me. It could be because the first Nintendo game I ever bought was Goonies 2, but for whatever reason, I just think the yo-yo has really cool video game potential. And my first experience with this game, I saw a lot of awesome ideas being implemented. I really loved how you could move around and use your yo-yo kind of like a grappling hook, even though there was nothing there. You could also use it as a weapon, charge momentum, speed around levels. There was just a ton of potential. It was just a game that never really clicked with me. I think there's a big emphasis on physics and inertia here, but I could never get it down. I was always clumsily doddering my way through these levels and eventually hit a point where I literally could not figure out how to get over a pit that I needed in order to progress. I watched a YouTube video, but that didn't help. I mean, I knew what I needed to do, but I had no idea how to execute it, so I was just stuck and had to give up. I wasn't really that upset about it. This is one of those games where the concept seemed a lot cooler than the actual gameplay. I don't think this is a bad game, and you can respond to this entire diatribe by just telling me to get good and calling me a scrub. I'll accept that. I am a scrub that needs to get good. Or just turn the game off and play something else, which is exactly what I chose to do. This is one of those games that I may go back and revisit to give another go, because I still love the premise, but for now, it's just on the list of games I gave up on for the year. Being an 80s kid, I was and still am a huge fan of the Ninja Turtles, and I'm always excited for a new game. Mutants Unleashed are not the Ninja Turtles I grew up with, but that's okay, I get it. Times change and so do properties, so I was more than willing to look past the hideous new artwork to see what this new vision of the Ninja Turtles was like. I gotta tell you, I liked it. The Turtles themselves behave far more like teenagers, and I really thought it was cute how they all called Master Splinter Dad. Splinter comes off as much older than he does in the original property, and there's a whole world where the Ninja Turtles are accepted and function in normal society. It was all pretty interesting. Different than what I was used to, but I enjoyed it. The gameplay took on a 3D beat-em-up action adventure with some minor platforming and even adventure storytelling between levels. You get to visit different characters and form bonds with them. As you do, the number of moves you can unlock increases and you get to flesh out the story. I enjoyed these. They were pretty short for the most part, but did a nice job of fleshing out the Turtles and their new personalities, all of which I was really enjoying. The combat here is fun. You get a nice variety of moves with several more that you can unlock along with team attacks that you get when you call in one of your brothers. There are dodges and parries as well. I really enjoyed the level design, and it was fun beating up all the various mutants that have gone crazy all over town. So here we are. I have not said a bad word about this game yet, so why did I give up on it? It's all about the load times, which are the worst I have ever seen in any video game in my entire life. You talk to a character, then enter a loading screen. Talk to another character, another loading screen. Play through half a stage, and there is another loading screen. The problem is, I played this game on the Switch, and these loading times were minutes long, and I'm not exaggerating. I timed them a few times. I was enjoying this game a ton, so much so that I was even willing to put up with these crazy loading times, but eventually it just got to be too much. When I'm sitting through 4 minutes of loading for 2 minutes of gameplay, I just can't tolerate that. When I eventually get my Switch 2, this is the first game I will play on it. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really sad that I couldn't finish it because of the unbearable loading times. I watched some footage of the PS5 version, and that seemed to run seamlessly, but I don't own a PS5. I do own a gaming PC though. If the loading time is not better on the Switch 2, I will probably rebuy this game on Steam, because I really do like it, and I would recommend checking it out. Just don't do it on the original Switch, as this is absolutely unbearable. I don't play many modern-ish games. That should be pretty obvious to anyone who watches my channel, as pretty much the games I feature here are the games I'm just playing, and I rarely play something that I don't feature on the channel. I do love a good first-person shooter though. Not the multiplayer garbage where I have to deal with angry teenagers screaming racial slurs at me, and not the games that try to be too realistic. I love a good boomer shooter where I can just go around shooting everything, and I thought that's what Robocop Rogue City was. I am a big fan of Robocop, and before I played this game, I rewatched the original movie, and it was every bit as awesome as I remember it. Then I started playing this game, and I fell in love with it pretty quickly. The shooting gives you a nice sense of weight that you would expect from the titular character, with just the right amount of violence that you would also expect from an 80s inspired movie. The opening stage has you going around in a really fun shootout, just blowing away everything, and the sensors really make you feel like Robocop. When I play a game like this, I want to do the fun parts of Robocop, not the mundane police work, and that is what my big problem with this game was. After my initial play session, I came home on a Friday afternoon and had the house to myself. I turned on the game and I was walking through the mean streets of New York City or Detroit. Where does this game take place? I don't remember. Anyway, doing really mundane police work. I was interviewing suspects, settling arguments. I even wrote a ticket for some douchebag, and more than anything, I did a whole lot of walking. And this is why I don't play modern games. You just spend so much time walking to this objective, talk to a person, walk to the next objective, rinse and repeat for what feels like forever. Before I knew it, a little over an hour passed and I did not shoot a single bad guy. I'm sure there's a market for this, and I know this game was pretty well received. I just can't, at my age, with what little playtime I have, I just can't suffer through mundane tasks. Just let me get to the shooting. And sure, that's not what kind of game this is, but it's the only kind I really want to play. I love Metal Slug, and I really love tactical RPGs. So when Metal Slug Tactics was revealed, I was extremely excited to say the least. Taking one of my favorite run and gun games into a tactics game sounded absolutely amazing. They completely nailed the aesthetic. Ripping sprite work directly out of the mainline Metal Slug games, it just looks amazing and exactly how you would want a game like this to look. Gameplay wise, they really did a fantastic job of translating the frantic nature of Metal Slug into a strategic experience. Everyone knows in order to be successful in those games, you must be constantly moving and dodging enemy attacks. They captured that essence perfectly here, as the more your character runs around the battlefield, the more dodge points you accumulate, making it really difficult for the enemies to land hits if you play your cards right. It is a brilliant mechanic that is executed flawlessly. Throw in a variety of special moves, smart use of cover, and clever level design, and you have the recipe for a perfect translation of an action game into a strategy one. So why the heck is it an episode of games I gave up on this year? Well, I just hate roguelites. Truly, I really hate the genre. I hate how many of them there are. I hate that every cool concept has to be ruined by roguelite elements, and I just hate starting the game over every time I die. It's a shorter, more concise experience. It's not as painful. There are a couple of games in the genre I like, but in a tactics game, it just sucks. You make it all the way to the boss. These things are pretty tough, not cheap or anything, but tough enough that you're going to die, especially before you know what to expect. And then you do, and it's back to the beginning of the game. Sure, as you go, you unlock characters and extra moves and arsenal, things like that, and that's all pretty cool. I just personally can't get into this genre, and I really wish they just made this a more fleshed out, longer standard game and left the roguelite elements out of it or just tacked it on as an extra mode. The gameplay here is rock solid, and I thought I might be able to look past the roguelite stuff, but I just hate replaying the same thing over and over again, so I put this game down. And it probably was my most disappointing game this year, as it was the game I was looking forward to the most. It is an excellent game, it's just not for me. The Evercade is home to so many good single-screen platformers. I used to think this was kind of a corny genre that I never wanted to play, but the Evercade has introduced me to so many fun games that I have really grown to enjoy this style of gameplay. I think we all know Burger Time. It is a classic game that is so much fun and just oozes nostalgia for gamers around my age. So when I heard about Peter Pepper's Ice Cream Factory, kind of like a sequel or at least spiritual successor to Burger Time, I was pretty excited. Rather than put together burgers, you are throwing ice cream scoops onto cones. Through this video, I've given pretty lengthy explanations as to why I did not enjoy each game, but sometimes a game just kind of sucks, and I think this is a perfect example of that. You have the single screen levels, tons of enemies chasing you. You're not totally defenseless, as you could jump over them or roll ice cream scoops into them, but it's just not any fun. Your character slowly plods along, especially when going on the ladders, and I never felt like full control over the scoops was as precise as I wanted it to be. Rolling it forward usually works well enough, but you could also kick them down or throw them upwards. I never felt I was able to get them to land where I wanted, and I just never felt any sense of rhythm, which is important in a game like this. You can see the gameplay footage is really just me dying every 10 seconds. I never got a handle on how this works, and I wasn't having any fun, so I just gave up. Given how many awesome games of this style the Evercade has, I did not feel the need to waste any more time on such a mediocre example of the genre.